Alright, I was asked a little while ago to make a video on how you convert a 73 to 87 body style GM full-size pickup K5 Blazer or Suburban to utilize the SM465 from an automatic. And the easiest way to do this is to utilize a SM465 hydraulic clutch bell housing used from 1986 up through 1991. From 88 to 91, that would have only been in the K30. They were referred to as the RV30, or the K5 Blazer and full-size Suburban. So some of the parts you're going to need to do this conversion. First, you'll need the pedal assembly out of an 86 and up. These can be identified because they're these two rods that come down. I don't know if you can see them, but my fingers touched them right there. That come down there to hold the clutch master cylinder. But you'll need that pedal assembly. And to install that, you simply remove this panel right here, this panel right here. There are two bolts that go up like this that hold the steering column to the dash. And then there are a few smaller bolts that hold this rubber isolator on. Then, coming under the hood, you'll need to disconnect your rag joint right there, and then slide the steering column back and out. You'll also need to remove your automatic transmission linkage that'll be attached up there. So once you do that, you can slide that piece out. Now that you have that out, you'll need to remove the brake booster, this piece right here from the firewall. It'll be between 4 and 6 bolts, probably 2 to 4 coming out this side and 2 going in that way. And you'll remove the brake booster, just pull it back from the wall, support it with something, maybe hang it off the hood up here. And then once that's removed, you can mount your pedal assembly. Once you have your pedal assembly installed, which is probably the hardest part of this swap, you're going to need to fit your master cylinder for your clutch. And to do that, I went to a junkyard and found an 82 and up square body Chevy, because they utilize a stamped area where the clutch master would mount for a hydraulic clutch. I believe it's 85 and up, but I can check. I have an 84 over here, so let's go see if it has that indent. They came factory with the indent for installing that. See, now in 84 they didn't use the hydraulic clutch, so they may not have the indent. And you know what? I am after a very quick inspection here, I don't see it on this truck. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have it, I just don't see it. So let's just, for the sake of argument, say 85 and up will have that indent there. If you have one of those trucks, you can just simply get a hole saw and drill that out. It's no big deal. If you don't, if you have a truck like mine, a 77, which never came factory with a hydraulic clutch, just go to the junkyard, find one that did, make a template utilizing the brake booster and any other reference points you can. Just keep in mind things like the wiper motor are different between the years. And then I just taped it on there, drilled a hole, and drilled two holes for the mounting bolts that come through, the studs, bolted it on. There you go, nice and firm. Now you could add a plate here if you wanted some like extra security, but since those strut rods are coming out that actually hold this, I don't think you're going to have firewall cracking issues like you would on, say, a Ford. I think the 90s era Fords had a big problem with that, cracking the firewall. Okay, so now that you've got your pedal assembly in, now you can install your master cylinder. I bought this from Napa. They actually carry all the hydraulic parts for this still. So I bought this piece. You're going to need this special hose right here that's rated for clutch fluid. Don't use fuel hose or anything like that. And you're going to need your reservoir. Both of these I got from a junkyard, so that was the best way to do that. I believe I got this one might be off an S10, but they're all pretty much the same. And right now it's been just zip tied here, but you should probably firmly mount that in an easily accessible area, perhaps over here. Just keep in mind that you're going to have water running down from the cowl, so you don't want to have it in a place where it's going to get wet all the time. Then you want to use your hard line, which right here you'll mount to the clutch master cylinder, which will go down, goes over the frame down there, and then we'll look under and see where it goes. Alright, so right there we have the line coming down. I'll try to get a different angle here, going to your slave cylinder, which is this piece right here, bolted to the bell housing. Now, couple things to keep a note here. If you had an automatic like I did, you're going to have a frame bracket mount that you're going to want to remove. Just get it out of the way. It just bolts on. You don't have to, but I find it to be easier. And that's pretty much it down here. Again, you need the special bell housing that has the mounting holes for that hydraulic clutch. Also, they do make a support rod system that bolts here and here that goes up to the motor. I would definitely suggest those. I haven't found them yet. I might just make my own. And the SM465 I'm using is out of a 1977 K30 1 ton, and that's what it was. Now it's actually a little bit newer unit. 10 spline out, mounted to an NP205 out of a 77 K30. Now the NP205 here is fixed yoke. They also made these in slip yoke. So if you have a slip yoke truck, you want to keep it slip yoke, you can find those. The fixed yokes are a little more desirable, a little bit stronger, and perhaps maybe a little bit harder to find nowadays. But you want to, if you had this truck originally came with a small block Chevy V8, the same one that's in it, a TH350 automatic, and an MP203 full-time transfer case. It now has a 350, SM465, and an NP205. Which was amazing is that the cross member didn't move locations at all. Everything stayed in the exact same spot. If you had a TH350 and an MP205, your cross member on this year truck would be in the exact same spot. Later trucks actually had multiple holes drilled for different transmission options. The 700R4, for example, is a longer transmission, so you're probably going to have to move your cross member. The TH400 I'm not sure about, but I believe it's slightly longer. I could be wrong about that. In doing this swap from the full-time to the NP205, I actually had to get longer drive shafts made up for the back and a shorter one for the front. Not hard to do, but just something to keep in mind. It will become an issue. If you already had an MP205, then that shouldn't be an issue. But I figure most people doing this swap are probably going to be doing it in an 82 and up with the 700R4 NP208 combo. If that's the case, you're probably going to have drive shaft alterations, and you may have to move the cross member mounting bolts. Not very hard to do, just line it up, bolt it in, drill some holes. It's really pretty easy. And that pretty much completes the swap. It's really quite simple. The last thing you'll need to do is cut a hole in the floor for your shifter. Now, I didn't have the indent in my truck, so I had to kind of guess at that, but a lot of trucks do have the indent. The other thing that you're going to run into is the shifter knob. So if you'd like to remove it like I did, this is just a roll pin. You just simply punch it out from the back side. And you knock that out, and you can pull out the rod there if you don't want that look. Backup lights is another issue that people will have, and the best way to get around that, I hardwired mine so I can use them on a toggle switch. It's good for off-roading as well. But you can wire them up to the sensor that's in the front of the transmission there on the top cover. There's a little sensor, you can wire it to that. And to do that, it's quite easy. I left all the automatic stuff intact under there, I just took the wires off and used spade connectors and just connected it right to the factory switch and every factory wires using the factory switch. Very simple. The indicator light, if you're switching from an MP203 or an MP208, you can find them for an MP205. That'll tell you when you're in gear, but not all of them had them. This one, being a 77, didn't have that, but a lot of them utilize them. It's a little sensor that's on top of the detent ball. I actually got one so I could put it back in. Unfortunately, I've since changed my dash, so I don't have a light for it right now. But that's how you would go about doing that. The only other thing is the neutral safety switch, which isn't a problem unless you accidentally turn your steering column. You'd have to have the key in, but if you put it into, say, drive or something like that, and then shut it off and then try to start it, it won't start unless you disconnect that switch. Not really a problem, because anytime you shut it off, if you want to get the key out, you have to have this up. I do plan on either cutting this nub off or changing out this piece so it looks like a factory column for a stick shift, and I also plan on actually putting in a tilt. I have a tilt for this as well. So that's pretty much how involved it is. It's a very easy swap. These transmissions came in these trucks. Probably the hardest thing is putting in the pedal assembly and drilling for the master cylinder for the clutch there. But again, not a very big deal. And you'll definitely like the SM465 better than the automatic. I do. I love the lower first gear that it has. The only thing I can say that I don't like about it is that it is kind of a crude transmission, in the fact that it doesn't shift quickly, and the ratios are pretty far apart. So you can't really cruise in one gear. You're always having to drop or up a gear when you're on the city streets, which really sucks. An NV 3500, NV 4500 would be a great swap. You'd get overdrive, but you'd also retain that lower gear. And they also shift more like a car than these, which shift like a dump truck, because that's what they are. A cast iron heavy duty transmission. So if you guys have any questions about the swap, any particular questions, or any areas you'd like me to focus on in better detail, I'd be happy to do that. If you're interested in swapping from an